Parts of Sydney will enter a week-long lockdown in less than 2 hours at midnight local time. Authorities are trying to contain a growing outbreak of the Delta COVID-19 variant. 22 cases have been reported today, the biggest jump since a new cluster emerged last week.
The advice from health is we don't want to see this situation linger for weeks. We would like to see this situation end sooner rather than later.
Our contact tracers have been getting on top of the venues very quickly, but we're still just seeing some people that are infectious in the community for a period of time. And this will allow us as almost a circuit breaker to give us that time.
People in Sydney's central business district and the eastern suburbs, where Bondi Beach is located, will be affected. They can only leave home for essential activities. More than 60 infections are linked to the latest outbreak in Australia's biggest city. The first case was a limousine driver who transported an overseas airline crew. Now, for more on this, we're joined by Danielle Robertson in Sydney. Danielle, authorities said yesterday no further restrictions were necessary. Why the reversal?
Yeah, the usually defiant state premier has now ramped up the restrictions here as the state tries to grapple with this latest COVID outbreak. The jump in positive cases has caused concern and led to this lockdown as the state tries to curb the spread. There were 22 new cases recorded in the latest reporting period of about a day. And as you mentioned, that's the highest number since we've seen the outbreak begin last week. Now, what this means is that more than 1 million people who live in 4 inner Sydney suburbs are now less than 2 hours away from facing a 7-day lockdown. That is a stay-at-home order, meaning they are only allowed to leave their home for essential purposes like for work, for shopping or for essential work. Now, police have said that they are going to make sure that people are listening to the rules and adhering to the restrictions, and fines will apply to those who don't listen to the new rules that have about to be put in place. And this is really now just to be able to curb the spread, particularly considering this is the highly contagious Delta variant.
And experts, what are medical experts saying? Do they think that this is going to be enough?
Well, the Australian Medical Association actually came out today and said that they don't think that it's enough. In fact, they said that the measures aren't widespread enough, they say, and are calling for a lockdown for all of Sydney. And they've also called the latest restrictions quite confusing. There are some boundary lines in Sydney that are literally split by a road where restrictions differ on either side of that road, which has caused a bit of confusion for businesses and for locals. The Medical Association has called for more widespread uniform measures and says that's the only way we're going to be able to get ahead of the virus. However, of course, businesses are at stake and the Premier is trying to mitigate economic impacts as much as possible. Of course, today, many businesses at the snap of their fingers are now losing an entire week of work. And so she's trying to avoid that for the entire city of Sydney, avoiding a lockdown for the whole city for the minute. But for now, the restrictions are going to come into place in a couple of hours, and they are hoping, I guess, the next week, it's going to last a week, the work of contact tracers will be crucial in that time to decipher whether or not those restrictions are then going to be extended or suspended.
All right, many thanks for that. Danielle Robertson in Sydney.